This is a site of no little historical significance. These are the old Govan shipyards. A kind of symbol of this part of Glasgow as a Labour heartland. There's another kind of symbolism at work now. This small room is now the campaign HQ at the SNP, who want to take this seat from Labour and finalise their dominance of Scottish politics.
Right, you're all going to have to squeeze in a little
The SNP has been running Scotland for nearly 10 years. Right. Even after all that time, it still styles itself as being insurgent and anti-establishment, while appealing to voters across the political spectrum.
A fairer, more successful Scotland, we're working on it. Who benefits most from our policies? We all do.
Meanwhile, most of Scotland's social and economic issues are as obvious as ever, and one question screams out for an answer. How long can the SNP carry on towering, unchallenged, over Scotland?
I don't know whether you want to go to college or university later on, but we provide the free tuition. We've been in government now 9 years and try to help folk with council tax frees or prescription charges. I'd be surprised if she didn't vote for us, but we'll put it down as undecided.
The SNP are a party which doesn't really mess about. Whenever you're out with them, you always get a sense of efficiency and effectiveness. If you win this seat, it's significant, right?
Well, it's huge for a number of reasons. This is what you used to call Labour heartland. This is real. This is that place of the shipyards. You don't get much more Labour than that. It also shows a little bit of the changing face of Scotland, I'd hope, as well, because I'd be the first non-white member of the Scottish Parliament to win a constituency seat. So I think it would be final confirmation that the tectonic plates of Scottish politics have shifted, and pretty permanently.
For those who would say that one party dominating Scottish politics just can't be healthy, that you need holding to account, what do you say to that?
Look, my job is to provide an effective party of government. You can't ask me to take the responsibility to make a decent opposition. If they can't get their act together, then that's their job to do that.
That's their problem.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
The Scottish Labour Party is now in deep crisis, and at these elections it could lose all of its constituency seats in the Scottish Parliament. We've come to a women's hustings to find Joan Lamont, the former Scottish Labour leader who holds the seat Humza Yousaf wants to take.
At the height of Thatcherism in the mid-80s, I was paying 28 pence in the pound. We are now told it is too bold for our country to raise taxation from 20 pence to 21 pence.
People tend to think the new politics in Scotland is just about the SNP, but there's much more going on than that. All three main party leaders are women. 4 out of 6 party leaders here are LGBT people. There's a gender-balanced cabinet, a gender-balanced shadow cabinet. Now this is a women's hustings in Glasgow. Most people here agree with all of that stuff. What people on the platform are trying to do is highlight the differences, very serious differences, between the parties at this election.
In terms of the differences on taxation particularly, what's the meaning of this election?
We're now in a position where a left of centre First Minister will get back in with a majority, and she will be in the unique position of having the opposition parties agreeing with her that taxation needs to be increased. And instead we're getting the argument of the right, but tax grab, tax flight, these things will be avoided. This is not how you create a business environment. I genuinely cannot understand it.
Fuck your rhyming couplets, minds and cufflinks. Bring the ruckus, I'll turn your fucking shiny circus into a bunch of fucking singing finger puppets.
I was pretty angry when I done that.
We've come to meet Loki, a Glasgow hip-hop artist, Yes campaigner, and until recently an SNP voter. A few weeks ago he wrote a blistering open letter to Nicola Sturgeon, saying that the SNP were failing to live up to their radical promise and attacking their credibility on poverty and inequality.
Do you think Scotland has made any positive changes? Socially, right, during that time?
Of course, the SNP have taken bold steps to mitigate the effects of Tory austerity. But if the most powerful First Minister in the history of Scotland, with the most powerful political machine at her back in the history of Scotland, cannot take a bold decision on tax reform, then what makes people think they're going to be able to do it in an independent Scotland? I'm beginning to try and look for some evidence that the SNP's vision of an independent Scotland is even an independent Scotland that I want to live in. I'm not satisfied that power is going to move down the way. I think it's just going to move sideways to a Scottish middle class and a Scottish corporate oligarchy. That doesn't justify the constitutional upheaval. I'd rather just stay in Britain and just fucking throw bricks at Tories, you know?
And, right, looking ahead, in early May, right, you've got a vote. in these elections here, what are you going to do?
I'll be voting no for no one in the first ballot, and I'll be voting for Rise in the regional list.
And that's interesting. Why are you voting for Rise then?
I vote for Rise because I believe in radical contingents in any democratic parliament. I think that they push mainstream politicians further. They're there to call out bullshit when it occurs. And I think that a more diverse range of voices leads to better policy.
But this is it. This is the HQ of... No, in a good way. This is the HQ of Rise, the nerve centre of the entire Scottish operation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very good.
Yeah.
A lot of noise from a small office.
Vote Rise on May the 5th. Respect, independence, socialism, environmentalism. It's not quite the politics of who benefits, we all do. Yeah, there you go. It's an alternative that makes the rich pay. See?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If you want decent services, then someone's got to pay for it, and then the riches should pay.
See, if I hold that.
In recent years, it might have looked like Scottish politics was carved up between the SNP and the declining Labour Party. But at these elections, some people think the Tories could come second. The Greens are looking like taking several seats under the list system. And then there's Rise, a new party of the left that grew out of the radical independence campaign.
And what sort of proportion of the votes you have to get a seat, do you know?
On the regional list for Glasgow, about 5%. So to be safe, we would be aiming for about 15,000 votes. Which isn't impossible, is it?
Are there any examples, do you think, from here or abroad, that tell you that this sort of politics can be done like this?
Yeah,
I suppose the most similar is the Sanders campaign, because he's raised 43 million a month. We're aiming for 43,000.
One of our main policies is to bring in a 60p rate of tax for the super rich. So folk that earn more than 150 grand, we are saying they should pay 60% tax.
They want 50p and they controversy about that.
45
People wanted 10p more.
If you got elected, if you get a seat in the Scottish Parliament, what do you do? What difference does it make?
There's something fundamentally missing there, and that's a socialist voice. Some of the SNP's most celebrated policies were actually Scottish Socialist Party policies. Free school meals, free prescription charges, free travel for the elderly. They came from Colin Fox, do you know what I mean? We're campaigning for the election in May with a new party that's standing called Rise.
What, the Scottish elections? Okay, thank you.
What do you think of the SNP?
I think they've done okay, but I think that one policy they had with freezing council tax, I don't think that did us any good. I'm sorry, there's my bus come.
And in one word, if you get the bus, what do you think of the Labour Party?
I think they no longer stand for what they were meant to be standing for.
It's interesting, you get the sense there isn't space in politics for a party which isn't the Labour Party. It's not the SNP, it's not the big dominant establishment party, and is a little bit more radical and lefty and perhaps, redolent of what the Labour Party used to be.
Don't mind your language a little bit, Wilson.
Yesterday afternoon, after we'd watched you campaign, we met Glasgow. We each a rapper called Loki. You heard of him?
We had a bit of a Twitter.
Did you?
Yeah, we did. We had a bit of Twitter to and fro. Loki comes from a position where you can talk, of course, from those own experiences in poverty. I can't argue with that, and I thought his article was very, very powerful. But to think that we haven't helped those that are the poorest and the most vulnerable in Scottish society is just untrue. How on earth could it be progressive to tax the lowest paid an extra pence?
Loki said yesterday that in the SNP's professionalism and its expert playing of the political game, combined with that sense that you could be far more radical than you are, the SNP's starting to remind him of New Labour.
Yes, and he's obviously entitled to his opinion, but the difference is that we won't do what New Labour did. We will never go away from our core principles. We are a social democratic party.
Been carrying around this sort of enlarged postcard for the last couple of days. Who benefits most from our policies? We all do. Trying to give the message of sort of one Scotland. The idea that we're all in it together.
She's magic.
Oh, Nicola's magic.
Yes.
Why do you like her?
She's straight from the heart. She really is a working class person as well.
How is this part of Glasgow doing, sort of jobs-wise and all that, would you say?
Rubbish.
In terms of, like a big thing like the shipyards existing, do you have any hope that anything like that will come back?
Hope is all.
Sometimes it's all people have got, though, isn't it?
Aye. You can't give up hope or you'll fucking die, wouldn't you?
The SNP's dominance of Scottish politics over the last few years has partly been traceable to a sort of rising sense of hope and optimism, but also quite left-wing sentiments about what kind of society people want to live in and the matter of equality chiefly. And you now sense rumblings of discontent, really, about the gap between that kind of vision and that level of hope and the everyday reality here.